What discovery about a family member left you wishing you'd never looked? My dad started working late every single night, and I assumed he was having an affair because that's exactly what happened before my friend's parents got divorced. He'd stumble through the door around midnight, looking completely exhausted with his shirt untucked and his tie loose, and give my mom one-word answers before disappearing into his home office. His phone became like an extension of his body that he guarded with paranoid intensity, and credit card statements started arriving in his name only, without my mom. Mom started sleeping on the couch most nights, and I watched him lose 20 pounds in 6 weeks until his suits hung off him like they belonged to someone else. The worst part was seeing my mom pretend everything was fine while checking his pockets when she did laundry and scrolling through his phone bill because she suspected the affair too. One Thursday around 11 at night, I heard his car pull into the driveway and watched from my bedroom window as he sat in the driver's seat for almost 10 minutes before coming inside. Through the darkness, I could see him hunched over the steering wheel, and his shoulders were shaking like he was either laughing or crying, but I couldn't tell which was worse. When he finally came in, I crept to the top of the stairs and heard him on the phone in his office, speaking in this desperate voice I'd never heard before. "I need more time to get the rest of the money together, but I promise you'll have it by Monday without fail." There was a long pause, and then he said something that made my blood freeze completely. "Look, I understand what's at stake here, and I'm willing to do whatever it takes because this is literally life or death for me." The next morning, I confronted him in the kitchen while Mom was in the shower, and his reaction told me everything I needed to know. "Dad, who were you talking to last night? I heard you mention life or death." His coffee mug slipped from his hand and shattered on the tile floor, sending dark liquid spreading everywhere like blood. "You were listening to my private conversation?" he asked, while his face went from pale to bright red in seconds, boiling in fury for a moment before he found his composure. "Just business negotiations getting a little heated over some contracts. Nothing for you to worry about, kiddo." But the way his hands shook as he cleaned up the coffee and how he couldn't meet my eyes told a completely different story. That afternoon, I watched him transfer $10,000 from their joint savings account to his personal checking on his laptop when he thought I was doing homework. He had multiple browser tabs open for places called Alternative Wellness Solutions and Miracle Healing Institute, which made no sense for someone supposedly dealing with business contracts. My mom was at her book club when I decided to search his office, and what I found changed everything forever. Hidden under a stack of old tax returns was a folder labeled Treatment Options, filled with invoices for something called Revolutionary Cellular Regeneration Therapy, totaling $87,000. But the paper that stopped my heart was from an oncologist dated 3 months ago, with the words Stage 4 Pancreatic Cancer and Terminal Diagnosis circled in his shaky handwriting. I was still holding the diagnosis when he walked in and found me sitting at his desk, surrounded by all his secret paperwork. "How long do you have?" was all I managed to whisper. He collapsed into the chair across from me and suddenly looked 10 years older than his actual age. "The real doctors said 6 months, but these alternative treatment centers promise they can cure it with special protocols that the FDA won't approve because pharmaceutical companies want to keep people sick for profit." His voice cracked as he explained how he'd already spent my entire college fund and maxed out 3 credit cards paying for vitamin infusions and frequency healing and coffee enemas and magnetic field therapy from people who promised him miracle cures with fake testimonials and doctored before and after scans. "Your mother would force me into chemo and radiation, but I've seen what that does to people, and these natural healers swear they've cured hundreds of cases just like mine." The desperation in his eyes was like looking at someone drowning while reaching for a rope made of smoke. They showed me testimonies from survivors and brain scans that proved the tumors disappeared, and this woman in Arizona said her husband was given 3 months but lived another 15 years after their treatment. That night I told my mom everything and watched her face go from confusion to horror to something I'd never seen before as she read through the papers with shaking hands. "Please don't make me do the chemo," my dad kept saying over and over while she held the diagnosis. "The healer said they've seen people recover completely, and the testimonials looked so real, and I just wanted to beat this without becoming a skeleton hooked to machines." She just stared at him for the longest time and then walked out of the room still holding his car keys, and we could hear her on the phone with someone but couldn't make out the words through her crying.